Well, Spring King, we all met basically because I knew Pete from high school when I was around 14 or something like that. And we started playing music together at high school. And then Andy I met at the local skate park when I was around 15 and a half, maybe 16. So then us three started playing together, and we've been in like so many different bands up until about the age of 23. And then we started Spring King. Well, I started in my bedroom. Pete joined, Andy joined. Then another guy was in, but he had to leave, and then James joined. And we found James on Facebook. Social media works.
Well, I personally loved Mars Volta. Tarek introduced me to the Mars Volta through At The Drive-In. I didn't really like At The Drive-In, but then he introduced me to Francis the album, and I fell in love with that. And apart from that was System of a Down, and quite a lot of jazz as well. I'm really into my jazz and bossa nova and stuff.
I think we all listen to very different stuff. Personally, I think I listen to a lot of like punk music, like American punk music, like Black Flag and Minor Threat and Bad Brains. That was the stuff that really kind of blew my mind. But At The Drive-In as well, Tarek introduced me to At The Drive-In. And then obvious bands like Nirvana and stuff like that. But hip-hop as well, and then through hip-hop into jazz, and that's how I think me and Andy connected a little bit more.
I was probably the only serious indie kid out of any of us. I used to see like the Maccabees and the Cribs and the drums and stuff like that, and I still loved them all. And then like got a bit older and got brought up on a lot of like British punk, like the Clash and the Jam and the Ruts and stuff. And then got a bit older, got more into like Fugazi and Bikini Kill and stuff, and then into hip hop, then into jazz, and so on and so forth, until we all collided into a very basic rock band. Always Home Shake. Matt DeMarco's old guitarist, solo project. Andy Schauf, Tarek's recommendation is incredible. Chris Cohen. I've really been getting into a girl called No Name, who's like a rapper, but she's insane.
I like the new LCD Sound System record. I'm not really a big fan of that, of his stuff in general. It's just never really resonated with me for some reason. This new record is great, and there's this one song by a guy called Michael Now called Good Thing, and we're writing our new record at the moment. We got a little studio, and one evening I think Tarek recommended to put it on, and there's just the first lyric in the song. It's just like, it's so simple, but for some reason it just really like touched me, and I listen to it every day now.
I'm listening. I'm going way back. I'm going to like a lot of like old Chinese music. I've got a flatmate called Amber, and she's Chinese, and she always plays this like 1920s kind of like working class kind of like these bars back in the 20s that all the workmen would go to and just drink like whiskies and like whatever alcohols were going, and they'd have this like really like kind of trippy. It kind of sounds like that band that you guys, not that band, Janitor, what is it called? The Caretaker. Yeah. It kind of sounds like The Caretaker, but yeah, lots of just old stuff, lots of surf music, instrumental stuff. I haven't really listened to anything new except for Andy Schauf and that stuff. What about you?
Well, like before, I'm not really listening to anything new, but this guy called The Caretaker, he just does instrumental like loops of old classical things and kind of makes them feel more nostalgic through putting them through effects and stuff. And I heard somewhere that apparently he uses it to help people with Alzheimer's because it's just the same loop over and over. But it's really beautiful and it's got a lot of atmosphere to it. So I'm listening to loads of that at the moment.
I think it's as a good time as ever. Like the bands are like, I think it's hard for bands. Like, if I'm going to be honest, it's for me the way I see it personally is that bands are really doing well in the live music scene, but they're not really getting the exposure they deserve on platforms, you know, similar to that of urban music and electronic music, you know, which kind of dominates the airwaves right now and it dominates the playlists. And I don't know if that's because it charts or because people enjoy, or the majority enjoy that more. I don't know how it works, but for me, rock music and stuff like that will always do well live, but I personally feel there's a bit of a struggle with the online kind of stuff like Spotify. Like, unless you go to a rock playlist, you're not going to find many rock bands in the top 50 on Spotify right now, and I think that should change. And I don't think it's because there's a lot of good rock music out there. It's just it's not getting the exposure it deserves for some reason. But I don't know enough about that. But yeah, I think rock will always be there. People love electronic sounds and they love jazz and they love, ska and all that. But like there will always be 3 or 4 people on stage with guitars and drums and people will always love that. I don't know about you.
I think there's a lot of great local scenes. Like cities like Leeds and Liverpool and stuff have a lot of great, like, really good communities for local rock music and like noise rock and stuff. But I don't know about. The other thing is, like, when I was younger, I used to listen to a lot of bands, so I knew a lot more. I used to like read The Enemy every week and all that kind of thing. Whereas now I barely listen to any bands, so I'm a bit out of touch. I just listen to like weirder rappers and home shake. So. I mean, it seems good though.
I think rock music's huge, personally. I read this thing recently that in America, for the first time, like hip-hop and urban music has become the most streamed music, and it's something that it takes up like 25% of all streamed music in America, but rock music is like 23%. It's like 2% behind. So I think there's a perception that it isn't doing that well, but I think in reality it is. It just might not be on Radio 1. But it's still being streamed a hell of a lot. There's a lot of the bigger bands, like rock bands on Spotify, are getting just as much streams as some of the bigger urban artists. Well, the radio mainly. There's a lot of playlisting, but it's mostly the radio. But then for me, the radio isn't as important as it used to be. Like a few years ago, it's like you've got to be on the radio to be successful, and it's just, I don't know if that's true anymore, personally.
We couldn't have done a lot of stuff without the PRS because it really helped us when we were struggling. We went on tour with Courtney Barnett, which was our first proper support tour, and we didn't really have any money to do it until the PRS helped us out with that. And then that gave us so much experience live. Like, we'd never worked with such a professional unit before. Like, Courtney Barnett's crew and her and the band are just like really on it. So that was good. And then we went and recorded our debut album, and PRS Foundation gave us a grant for that, and without that we wouldn't be able to record the album. We didn't have any other investment from anywhere else except for PRS on that album, so it helped to get us off the ground. It's amazing. We said yes to playing the Fluffer Pit Party because we'd seen other bands who had done it previously, and the concept of a 360-degree stage just sounded incredible. And Al, who runs Fluffer Pit, he's just like really on it. He's like so good at the promotion side and making sure that everyone's okay, and he's constantly doing something to shout out about the parties. And he's putting on the Black Lips in November, which is another great reason to come down to a Fluffer Pit Party because they're an amazing band. And he's put on loads of good bands like Deep Valley, Japan Droids, and obviously tonight we've got D-Mob Happy and Nova Twins who are supporting us, and that's going to be incredible.
I think the main one for me is don't be afraid to ask for something. Like, if you're sound checking and it doesn't sound right, don't just put up with it. Like, don't be afraid to ask the sound engineer very nicely. Always be nice to people as well, because then people are much more likely to want to help you out. But just ask for something, because there's nothing worse than going on stage when you know your sound isn't right.
We have a system which is called the hands in the air system. I don't think we started it necessarily, but if you don't know what it is, you maybe speak to the sound engineer before you're about to sound check and say, if we have our hands in the air, it means we want more of the instrument we're currently checking. So if Tarek is doing the kick drum, the three of us will all have our hands in the air until it's right in our monitor, and then when it's right, we put our hands down. And it's very simple, but it also means that sound checks are so quick. We can sound check in like 5 minutes, even at a festival. Whereas a lot of bands are like, oh, I want a bit more of this. If you just have your hand in the air and just kind of lets people know. But the main thing, I think, is just treat everybody nicely, because it goes a long way. A lot of sound engineers have to deal with a lot from all kinds of different people, not just the bands, but tour managers and stuff. So if you just ask them for their name and be nice, it can go a long way.
Also, carrying on this rock and roll discussion, try and be as quick as possible when you finish the show. Just get off stage, because there's a band after you who need to get on in 5 minutes because the whole day's ran behind, and coiling a cable on stage. You can do that backstage after you've played, because, and treat every band equally. Like, just because the band after you is just like an acoustic guitar singer-songwriter, they still deserve 30 minutes time if that's what they've been given. So yeah, I see that a lot at festivals, but I also see a lot of lovely people. My favourite part of being in the band is that because I'm on the road all the time, I don't have to pay any rent. So like last year I was just like having fun with my friends, playing shows, coming off stage, having a good time, meeting fans, and then going, once every month, going home to my mum and dad's house, which is I'm very lucky for that. So I've just been grateful to not have to stress about anything else, unlike James, he's a grown up, not like me.
I think my favourite part of being in the band is just some of the insane things we've done. Like some of the we've had some terrible experiences, but some of the amazing stuff we've done is just like, is proper. I mean, like doing Jules Holland last year. We were in America last year and we went to Zuma Beach in Malibu when we were like swimming, watching the sun go down in Malibu. There's just loads of little bits like that where it's like, wow, like this could be a lot. And I worked for like a year and a half trying to do the band as well at the same time. So, and that was rubbish. So the opportunity to be able to just getting signed, in fact, it was amazing because it just enabled us to like concentrate, tour all the time, play loads of great shows, and enjoy ourselves, which we're very lucky to be able to do.
I personally am really enjoying the creative process at the moment because we're working on a new album, and it just feels like it's a great album. So it feels really satisfying and laid back, and there's no rush to it. Like the first one wasn't really rushed, but it was a set time, and it was like all guns blazing for like 3 weeks. Whereas this one's a bit more like, okay, we've kind of stepped back a little bit, thought about what we want to do, and I think it just feels I feel really refreshed and excited about the new stuff. But mostly it's being on the road and the experiences and meeting the fans. But yeah, at the moment in particular, it's just writing new songs and just feeling like this is maybe the best thing we've done, or I think our fans are going to love this. It's a great feeling.
Yeah, next thing for us is to work on the next album and then put it out, and then I guess tour it as much as possible. We want to play in cities we've never ever been to before. We want to go back to Europe a lot more. We want to visit the US, Australia, Japan would be amazing. I feel like the way we've done Spring King has been very slow and organic, and I think we still have a lot of things and ambitions that we want to achieve, which we didn't do on the first time around, which is great because it means we've got more fun stuff to do. So yeah, just a lot more touring and just putting out this record hopefully next year would be amazing. That's it, I think.